Call to order, please. Welcome to the July meeting of the Strabane Board of Supervisors. I want to thank you for attending. Roll call. All 5 supervisors are present. The township manager is present. The township solicitor is present. The assistant to the manager is present. Our stenographer, our engineer, our fire chief, our code enforcement officer, our accountant, okay, and our chief of police. And I'd like to welcome them and everyone else. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to report to the the board held an executive session previous to this meeting this evening concerning litigation and personnel. Public comment time. The Township Board of Supervisors allocates a period of time during this item for those individuals who would like the opportunity to address the Board of Supervisors on any matter. Each person addressing the Board of Supervisors is asked to limit their comments to a maximum of 3 minutes. Mr. Stanley, would you like to call it?
Yeah, do we have anybody who would like to publicly comment?
You have to approach the podium and state your name and address, okay?
Betty Haney, 1648 Pierce Avenue. These are police complaint forms that I left with Hilk going on 500 days ago. I've asked Mr. Burns in August last year at the meeting to check out about this. I've emailed Stanek to find out where they are on how the officer Kushwatch verbally attacked me, how my neighbors are verbally attacking me and threatening me, all because I had a survey done on my properties. My brother was on the phone with me when Kushwatch came over. My neighbor verbally attacked me. I remained silent, walked away, called the police. Kushwatch came, made me a victim again. Spoke to me so arrogantly. In the end, he even said he could arrest me. I got up, I couldn't take it. I wasn't allowed to speak. I couldn't take him anymore. I got up, went to go in my house. He's going to arrest me. Now I have an incident again. There's so much in this, and it has to do with my survey and the township not enforcing the ordinances on these neighbors. My neighbor has her fencing on my property. The rental that is illegal according to our zoning that you've allowed. She's using my property. Last week, I went over to the federal property, who's doing all this now, talked to her lawn boy for 2 seconds. She came out, went off on me, screaming, using the F word. We called the police, and she went over, and I had a second survey. I put money out for a second survey. Her son, the very next day in April, took the stake out, had to call the police. She comes last week, takes the stake out, and hurls it at me. Told me she's going to kill me twice. Come up at me at the street. Ireland took he talked with me. Ireland did. The other Zenovich or whatever talked to the fetters. And Ireland put nothing. I want a report of the neighbor hurling this thing, the stake at me, telling me she's going to kill me. I want a report made of that. I came down to the police station Friday to make sure of that. Ireland was there. He came out, and I said, well, I want it in there that she hurled the stake at me. Here's the robot police officer. I don't recall that. And what about that she was going to kill me? I don't recall that. Time's up. And how about when her 4-year-old daughter came up to you and me and said, my mommy took the stake out. I don't recall that. I want a report done. I want to be able to go to the police station tomorrow and have somebody write up a report, just like Zenovich, I'm sure, wrote up the Feder report. I want a report of her threatening me and taking my stake out. Last year, she took my stake out and stole it.
Okay, thank you very much. You have something you want to
Yes.
give to the board?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for coming in. Anyone?
Anyone else?
Yes, George Rowan, the president of the Strabane Manor HOA. This is in reference to the cul-de-sac parking. I know it was tabled for 30 days, and I would like to narrow the scope down as far as being in favor of no parking in the cul-de-sacs in Strabane Township, but narrow it down to Strabane Manor in particular. The roads are narrower, and last month they showed a video of a 75 or 77-foot fire truck trying to get turned around in a cul-de-sac. I went and measured the longest or the widest part of our cul-de-sac is 80 feet, and this thing is 77 feet. So that gives 3 feet to turn around a fire truck in the event of an emergency if nothing's parked in the cul-de-sac. So I would like to narrow down being in favor of no parking in the cul-de-sacs in Strabane Township and just narrow it down to Strabane Manor. And also Russ brought up the fact about winter parking on the streets. Again, I'm in favor of that in Strabane Manor. The roads are narrower, the cul-de-sacs are narrower, and I would be in favor of helping out the township, putting out a winter maintenance from, say, November till April, that there's no on-street parking, and then that would be left open for the township to be able to treat the roads and plow. Now I'd like to call Dale up. We had one incident that he was able to witness. I wasn't able to witness, but safety has been my main concern in Strabane Manor and making sure everything is done safely. And we had an incident that probably could have, somebody could have got hurt. And that's why I'm here tonight. Thank you.
Hi, Dale Flowers, 2210 Shawnee. Last Thursday, I saw a tractor trailer deliver a piece of heavy equipment up on Shawnee. He had to back that tractor trailer all the way from the end of Shawnee, I assume all the way down to Canoe, so he could leave the plan. There were cars parked on both sides of the street. He had a difficult time. My neighbor was stuck in his driveway trying to get to a doctor's appointment because it took him quite a while, quite a few going forward and backwards to get backed out because the cul-de-sac was blocked. It seems like residents like to use it as overflow parking. Now, I realize some of the construction guys park there now temporarily, but they're always handy to move the cars. That's basically all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Jimmy Stewart, 1131 Arrowhead Drive, Strabane Manor. Just to back up with Dale and what George said. Again, parking in the cul-de-sacs. And we'll probably, depending on how the vote goes on this tonight, maybe we need to approach the zoning hearing board on that, okay? Because Strabane Manor, number one, is a private community, all right? It's off of Fisher Drive. There's only 3 or 4 roads off of Fisher that go into Strabane Manor, and they all end in a cul-de-sac. There is no drive-through in Strabane Manor, no matter which way you go. Bob, you live there, you've got a cul-de-sac at the end of your street, not very far, about what, 50 yards maybe. But depending on how the vote goes tonight, maybe we need to approach the township just from Strabane Manor as far as the cul-de-sac. Cul-de-sac is French. You know what it defines as? Bottom of the bag, okay? That's what they are. With us, a cul-de-sac is a turnaround for us. It's not a parking area. Because no matter where you go, you're going to end up in a cul-de-sac, and you're going to have to turn around to get out of Strabane Manor. There is no through traffic. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Mhm.
Anyone else?
Anyone next?
Hi, Charlene Scavati, 85 Pine Valley Road. I'm up here tonight to let the township residents know that my husband and I have done everything possible to not take legal action against South Strabane. If you follow the meetings, it's pretty easy to see this. On June 28th, I was up here letting this board know that if they granted final approval to Meadows Landing, without looking into our concerns and the ordinances under the stormwater and land development, that legal action would be taken. This board chose to make their own decision on the information presented by the township manager and engineer in favor of the developer instead of the safety and well-being of a resident. So to you, the residents, I apologize for your tax dollars going toward this legal action. And to the board, consider yourself served because legal action was filed yesterday. So I'll just see it's important.
Thank you, Charlie. Anyone else?
Yes, my name is Marcia Deeb and I live at 6 Fox Drive. I've talked at the meetings here a couple of times about the cul-de-sac parking. I definitely understand where these people are coming from, but we live in Windsor Highlands, lived there for a multitude of years, never had any trouble. I do agree, if you want to limit snow removal days, you could do that. If you have trouble with RV parking, maybe we could address that. But to do just cul-de-sac parking, I feel is discrimination. Now, I have taken a picture of the main drag of Windsor Highlands. And what it is, yeah, please. It's people parking, getting work done, and it takes up more than half of the road. So to me, I feel that is just as much of a danger of having someone park in a cul-de-sac. So I get it. I understand the fire department had trouble up in the cul-de-sacs, but he had trouble with or without cars. So for me, I just don't understand the discrimination. That's my only problem. The other thing, I have a problem with communication. Like these agendas aren't listed until Monday night, Monday. I don't feel that's enough time to have the community involved in it. And I know we had talked about that before. So if there's something you could do to help with that, it'd be helpful.
Thanks. Thanks for the suggestion.
Typically, they're posted Friday before we leave, just snap and zap.
Anyone else? Oh, come on.
Rick Nicodemus, 989 Bolson Drive, cul-de-sac in Windsor Highlands. I was at the last month meeting. And I think it was you that asked me, I made a comment about cul-de-sacs versus on-street parking. And I had called that day North Strabane and Peters and asked what their ordinances were, and they have no street parking, no cul-de-sac parking. And I proposed, why don't we do that here? And I think it was you or maybe the other gentleman that asked me, just for clarification, am I suggesting that that's what we ought to have? And I said, no, we should not have that. I'm against it. I was just pointing out that the other two precedences of those townships have that. I know you already know that from doing your homework, but and to what Marcia said a minute ago, we see and we have our own issues with just getting through on Warwick Drive, which is also one of the main drags through Windsor, with cars parked on both sides of the street. And to one gentleman's analogy of the bag, the bottom of the bag, you're not going to even get through the neck of the bag if you have on-street parking on Warwick Drive. There's times that we can't get through. So and I saw a fire truck in our cul-de-sac about 2 weeks ago, and I videotaped that. Excuse me. And there was no cars there. They had to do, I think it was 5 or 6 maneuvers to get through that. Again, no cars, to Marcia's point. So that truck would not even gotten there had the neck of the bag, to use your analogy again, were clogged, because that truck's not going to get through that passage. We can barely get through there with our normal sized car. So my suggestion is do all or do nothing with this, not just the cul-de-sac, because it seems if you continue to not address the street part of it, that there's just some agenda that I don't understand it's just the cul-de-sac and not the streets too. And why not? I don't want either, just for the record.
Okay, thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Anyone else like to speak? Okay, let's move on, please. Number 4, meeting minutes. The Board of Supervisors regular meeting minutes dated June 28th. Need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thanks, Mr. Murphy. Need a second, please. Second. Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 5-0. Number 5, financial business. Approval of payroll for the periods June 12th through June 25th and June 26th through July 9th, and bills for the period June 25th through July 22nd. Need a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Lukatich. Need a second, please.
Second.
Thanks, Mr. Murphy. Any further discussion? Any comments? All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 5-0. Number 6, announcements and recognition. Mr. Stanek, when asked you to introduce this, I would ask Mr. Lukatich to be the deliver the proclamation to the church. Okay.
This is a resolution recognizing the 150th anniversary of Mount Pleasant Presbyterian Church on Myers Road.
Is there anyone? Oh,
You guys want to come up to the podium?
yeah.
For the residents' information, this is the Mount Pleasant Presbyterian Church, and it's on Myers Road. If you know where Old Trails Cafe is on 40, you're going to go down Myers to the stop sign and then make a right. That church has been there 150 years now. And the township was founded in 1931. The church, it was, or 1831. The church is 1872.
That's when the Presbyterian started. It was a
Yeah.
church prior to that.
You'll have to give us some history. Because I don't know all the history.
I sent it over to Brent.
Okay, I'm just gonna read this, okay. Whereas the congregation of Mount Pleasant Presbyterian Church is celebrating its 150th year anniversary. And whereas Mount Pleasant Presbyterian Church, located on Myers Road in South Strabane Township, consists of a group of individuals who are deserving of praise and communication through their positive influence on South Strabane Township. And whereas the present site has fostered congregational fellowship and worship since 1852, when a structure known as Providence Chapel was constructed. And whereas on the second day of July, 1872, Mount Pleasant Presbyterian Church was founded as a congregation by local farmers to put aside their chores for a brief time for the purposes of worship and fellowship. And whereas the original congregation comprised approximately of 28 charter members led by Reverend William Ewing, and whereas the present congregation comprises 19 members led by Reverend James Agnew, who continue to this day to gather to worship every Sunday. And whereas the congregation of Mount Pleasant Presbyterian Church has a strong history of contributing to the community through its regular support of Resurrection Power, City Mission, Avis Arbor, Washington Christian Outreach, Washington County Food Helpers, the Donnell House, Presbyterian Senior Care Benevolent Fund, Child Evangelism Outreach, and Domestic Violence Services of Southwestern Pennsylvania. Now therefore be it resolved that the South Strabane Township Board of Supervisors hereby honors Mount Pleasant Presbyterian Church and joins in celebrating its 150-year anniversary. The folks here.
I can, I guess.
Would you be willing to add to it? Anything we can know more about your church? or-
Well, we do know that it was originally a schoolhouse, correct? It was originally a schoolhouse, then it became a Methodist church, then the Methodists moved to they built a church down on 40. And so then, but some of the people didn't want to leave that church, probably because it was closer to walk to. And then they became a Presbyterian church. So we've been there ever since. I've been there just for this at the beginning of this year. I'm Reverend Jim Agnew. And yeah, I mean, the church has been blessed, even though our numbers are small, and we're open every Sunday, 11 o'clock. Come enjoy, come and hang out with us. We're happy to have you. But you know, we've been blessed in many ways, and we like to turn around and bless the community as much as we can in supporting especially those people who are in recovery through Resurrection Power, Harmony House, Sunlight Club, and whatever we can do to help out. But somebody wrote one time, if you like old time religion, then come here. So if you like old time religion, come and see us. We're, like I said, every Sunday, 11 o'clock, we're open. So yeah, that's about it, unless Patty probably doesn't want to say anything, do you? Patty's our clerk of session. So
Okay, thank you very, very much. Thank you so much.
They had a celebration. Good. They had a celebration on Saturday, and my wife and I are driving up there, and I said, that church is so small, I don't think there's going to be many people there. And I go up, and there's a hayfield beside it, and there must have been 50 cars parked there. But it was extremely nice.
Yeah, it was good.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Sure. Okay, Mr. Stanek, on the second item there, would you like to bring it to our attention so we can move on it?
Sure, this is a motion presented to the board to amend this agenda, which adds a motion to approve operations and maintenance agreements with property owners of 2005, 2007, and 2009 Moccasin Drive, permitting a private connection to the township stormwater maintenance system.
Okay, motion. Thank you, Mr. Burr. Second, please.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of adding to the agenda this particular motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 5-0. Number 7, township reports and presentation. Municipal separate storm sewer system, MS4 report. The the Board of Supervisors allocates a period of time during this item for comments regarding the topic of stormwater. Each person addressing the Board of Supervisors has to limit their comments to a maximum of 3 minutes. Mr. Stanley?
Mr. Body?
Hi again, Charlene Scavati, 85 Pine Valley. I was just wondering, Meadows Landing, they're currently up here for their last step and final approval. I'm wondering why they haven't had to clean their basins since 2018 when they became permanent. Now, one blade of grass has been cut on that site all this time. I've mentioned it. I've asked for enforcements. DEP has told Mr. Stanek that it must be done. He's the enforcer, but the operation and maintenance agreement stipulates who's responsible for the inspections and the maintenance. So I was just wondering why Strabane Manor is doing it, and Stony Creek always has theirs cut real nice. So I'm just wondering why enforcement on Meadows Landing has never been done, especially after requests.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, township manager report.
I'll just report the construction on Tanger Boulevard is going to continue. They finished the storm outlets or the storm inlets last week, and they're going to delay any type of milling and paving this week to the beginning of next week. So it just helps us coincide with what Tanger management is doing on site with themselves, and just better coordination.
Move on to secretary treasurer.
Yep, submitted for your review.
Okay, thank you very much. Township solicitor, Mr. Maple.
Thank you, Mr. Weber. The office has been involved with various matters in litigation, also drafting various agreements, other documents on behalf of the township. So we're getting things done, and that's about it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Judge Gilman.
Township engineer, Kevin.
Thank you. You'll have a copy of my report. Happy to take any questions on it. Brandon mentioned Tanger Boulevard is progressing along well. And we're just working with all.
When did they start?
They started last week on doing the storm sewer and guide rail work. And then on Tuesday, August 2nd, that's when we're gonna start milling, grinding down the asphalt with the week of August 8th to be the paving operations. We're trying to get it all complete to meet the requests of Tanger outlets for their back to school sale, which starts the week of August 15th. I think.
Okay, before that, huh? Okay, good. Thanks, Kevin.
Yep, you're welcome.
Unfinished business. The letter A there concerning the cul-de-sac, I'd like to announce to the public that the time has expired on this issue and no action will be taken either way on this particular item. Number 9, new business. Public hearing to consider a conditional use application from Larry and Beth Simpson to operate a home occupation, specifically housekeeper custodial services, located at 42 Main Street in the R4 zoning district. Mr. Stan, before we turn it over to Mr. Maple, would you give a brief description, please?
Sure thing. On June 15th, the township received an application for conditional use approval from Larry and Beth Simpson for the applicants to operate a home occupation, specifically the housekeeping or custodial services located at their home at 42 Main Street in the R4 zoning district. According to the applicant, the business currently operates from the home of Larry Simpson's father, located in East Washington Borough. It will no longer be possible to continue operations at this location, and the applicant desires to operate from their property on Nance. The applicant has provided letters of support from neighbors in East Washington Borough reflecting the existing operation. And there are letters supporting Mr. and Mrs. Simpson from Pancakes. So pursuant to the zoning code, what happens is that home occupation is an authorized accessory use in the R4 zoning district as a conditional use. So home occupations are subject to standards and criteria that are in the zoning code. And the property is approximately 1/3 of an acre in size. It is improved single family dwelling. It's located in the vicinity of Billy Biddle Park and Laboratory Presbyterian Church in the Pancake neighborhood. According to the applicant, operations on the property will be limited to the storage of equipment and supplies, and loading and unloading activities at the beginning and end of the day, taking approximately 30 minutes each time. According to the applicant, all storage will be contained to the basement of the dwelling. Additionally, customers will not be visiting the site and no signage is proposed. The operation will include the assistance of one employee who arrives in the morning and leaves at the end of the workday following unloading.
Thank you, Mr. J. Mr. Maple.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Weber. At this point in time, we'll conduct the public hearing concerning the conditional use application for Larry and Beth Simpson. I assume you folks are the Simpsons?
We are.
Okay. You're going to just please stand and be sworn in. Anyone here else have any questions or comments about the public hearing or the application for the conditional use of the Simpsons? Anyone else here want to testify? All right. Swear them in, Sheila.
State your full name. Beth Simpson.
Larry J. Simpson Jr.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Why don't you folks take us, go to the podium? At this point in time, is there a motion to place into evidence the following exhibits? Exhibit A is board action information from Mr. Stanley. Exhibit B will be the conditional use application. Exhibit C will be a drawing showing the property, a survey of property of Beth Dietz, that's exhibit C. Exhibit D will be the request from the Simpsons about their parking situation. Exhibit E will be a letter dated June 17, 2002 from Attorney Freeland in support of their application. Exhibit F will be a letter dated June 22nd, 2022 from Robert and Joanne Coyle supporting the application. Exhibit G is a letter dated June 22nd, 2022 from Doug and Lena Crency supporting their application. Exhibit H will be a letter from, I believe it's Marianne Weinstein, who's the council president, in support thereof. Exhibit I will be a synopsis, or I'm sorry, a segment of the township zoning ordinance regarding home occupations. That's section 245-129. Exhibit J is a memorandum. It's a planning commission memorandum from Jim Sutter to the planning commission dated July 1st, 2022 with an analysis thereof. And Exhibit L will be the proof of publication of that. This,
Ms. K.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
That's what I'm here for.
Too many pieces of paper. K is from John Means to Brandon Stanek supporting the application. It's an email. Exhibit L is proof of publication. Exhibit M is notification of a public hearing regarding this matter. So the most put those
to
into
admit exhibits A through M.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. Second, please. Second. Thank you, Mr. Lukatich. All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 5-0, Mr. Baker.
So Mr. and Mrs. Simpson, who's going to be the speaker for both of you, the wife or the husband?
I'll be the speaker.
All right. You want to tell us why, tell the supervisor why you want to have an applicant approve your application for additional use?
My father started the Simpson Cleaning Service in 1959, and it's just a small family-run business located in East Washington Borough, and it's comprised of me and my wife and 2 employees have been with us for over 20 years. We've been operating out of my parents' house for 51 years without disrupting the neighborhood or its traffic, as is documented in those letters from the neighbors and the president of the East Washington Borough Council. Recently, my parents had to move into assisted living facility, and we're going to have to sell the house. And we would just like to move the business to our house at 42 Mant Street, operating it with no disruption to the neighborhood or its traffic flow, just as we did in the East Washington Borough.
What type of cleaning business do you have? Clean homes or whatever? Or?
It's basically, we do janitorial work, clean some carpet,
Commercial, residential?
both.
Both. If it's dirty, we clean it.
So I can
That could
come
be our motto.
Can I do my house?
Yeah.
Hang on to that.
Anything else you want to tell us?
Not really. Do you have any other questions?
Mr. Burns, do you have any questions of these folks?
Nope.
Mr. Stanek? No. Mr. Grego? Mr. Weber?
No, thank you.
Mr. Lukatich?
No.
Mr. Murphy?
No.
As a solicitor also for East Washington Borough, I heard no complaints. I can say that for the record, so. At this point, I mean, there appears to be no one here objecting to your application. You have people supporting it. It appears to be in compliance with the township zoning ordinance. Is there a motion to close the hearing at this point in time?
Thank you, Mr. Renee. Second, please.
Second.
All those in favor of closing the hearing, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 5-0.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. Need a second, please.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor of approving the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 5-0. Congratulations.
Thank you
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay. Here we go. Motion accepting the results of the 2021 fiscal year audit of the former South Strabane Township Sanitary Authority. Mr. Stan, do you want to give us a description there?
Sure. So tonight we'll hear from Scanlon and Tice. And I think that's in attendance to go over the results of the audit. Before he does that, I was just going to bring up the presentation. Just to go real quick about the projects that we currently have, the projects that we see in the audit. So I just wanted to briefly touch base on East Bow Street project. Project 792, total cost $139,000. This assessment fee per customer. Customers remaining on this, we have 5 out of 11 customers that remain on this project, and it would be done. And so after it's complete, what we would do is then transfer those facilities or convey those facilities to Ouija for ongoing maintenance and ownership. And this Lakeview East Bow Street project. So this is an extension of that project. This is the project that was covered by the Penvest loan that was paid off after the first of the year. The total cost of $395,000, and again, an assessment fee customer. It varies, but it looks like right now it's $56.88 per month. So, yeah. Racetrack Road project. This was in 2006. What happened to the development of 48 financed sanitary sewer installation for Racetrack Road to Route 19 and Fisher Road. Total cost of that project was $851,000 change. The township contributed to this, sanitary authority at $347,485. We are reimbursing the redevelopment authority on an ongoing basis, $1,804 per EDU that goes and flows into the racetrack road sewer shed. Our remaining balance is $322,000. We have a Zedeker Station project. This is actually a redevelopment, another redevelopment authority financed project that did design engineering services for a Zedeker Station sewer feasibility study. And when we say Zedeker Station project, we're talking about the approximately the 1,200 acres down that CNX owns. And at one point in time, this was done in 2009, and that conversation continues today about the development of that property. But so the total cost of that project was $328,000. We have a contribution of $308,000, and so the reimbursement to the redevelopment authority will be determined upon any start of construction. So that just remains on our books as a liability at this point. In 2017, most recently, the Floral Hill project was a sewer extension from the length of Floral Hill down to Community Park. Total cost of $316,000. We have an assessment fee per customer of $19,829. Customers remaining approximately 10 out of 15. Remaining debt on that is $106,000. And again, there is remaining debt service on that, but once that is down to zero, we go ahead and convey that sewer facility conveyance system to Leisure for ongoing ownership and operation. Those are the projects that we are dealing with now in control of our sewer. And I'll just refer to.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everybody. My name's Rich Tice. I'm the audit partner on the Sanitary Sewer Authority. So this is just focused on that, not on any of the township's operations. So I'll be brief, and please ask any questions, or are they allowed to ask questions, or just the supervisors? How does this work?
Just the supervisor.
Just supervisor, okay. Do you have it on the screen or not, or Brandon, am I just presenting it? There's nothing.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Well, we conducted our audit, in accordance with accounting principles, and you have to understand it did not, all the assets and liabilities did not get transferred or assumed into the township till after December 31st. So I'm reporting as of December 31st. So there were assets and liabilities, and of course there were revenues and expenses for the year. And then after in 2022, all the actions were taken to absorb it into the township. So our report is that, it's a quote clean opinion that everything was fairly stated. We didn't have any findings or issues to report on that. Part of that report is management's discussion and analysis. We worked with Brandon and Marie on that, and all the numbers that they reported in there tie into our audit report. So that was all good. Along here. So the sewer authority at, again, December 31st, before anything was transferred to the township, had the main assets being cash and a certificate of deposit, cash of a little under 200,000, certificate of deposit of 575,000. And then of course, a net capital assets, which is the cost of the sewer system, less in building and equipment, less any depreciation on it, was approximately 1.6 million. And then the liabilities mainly consist of what Brandon went over on there, the liabilities back to the redevelopment authority that need to be paid as the projects come online or more customers come online. We already went over those liabilities. So that is the assets and liabilities. The operating revenues for the year were approximately $74,000. The expenses were $84,000, but realizing there was some depreciation in there that actually puts it into a positive cash flow position for the year. That's that. And then we have all of our disclosures, which are in our report. I won't bore all of you. We could be here. I'll definitely use my 3 minutes if I read all the disclosures. I'll spare you all of that. But they do, I just wanted to assure you that we worked with Brandon here, last week, right? Brandon made sure that presentation ties in, I'll assure you gentlemen, it ties into the audit report, all the numbers that he presented there. So I guess, again, a satisfactory report. We're ready to issue it final, I guess, upon your approval. And that will be it. Again, it will be audited as part of the township's audit here for 2022, since it all got transferred. Any questions from the board?
Move to accept and approve.
Do you have a question?
Second, double second, and then now.
Okay, well, discussion. Okay, thank you, Mr. Burns. Second by Mr. Murphy.
I was just
Comment.
curious on the depreciation of 45,000, whatever, 773. What does the sewer authority own that you depreciate?
Well, yes, it's still, it's the assets, the sewer system assets are depreciated over, I don't want to misspeak, but it's over a very long period of time. So they're still being depreciated. I think it's 40 years, I think, which is common. We do a lot of sewer authorities. That's what the useful life of the authority is deemed to be. So it's still being depreciated from when it was constructed. Plus any new projects, of course, start getting depreciated as well. So that's what the net overall for the year was.
They're the assets we haven't conveyed.
Yeah, well, not you said we own Floral Hill, and I realized we still own it.
Again, remember that as of December 31st, it was still in the authority's ownership and on their books till.
We continue to do.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that. I didn't look at 2022. Yeah. Good question.
That's it.
Anyone else? Okay, all those in favor of the motion to approve, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, letter C. Public hearing to consider a text amendment to the zoning code to require a new certificate of occupancy while a change in tenancy or ownership of any commercial building. A text amendment to the property maintenance code prescribing penalties in the amount of $300 or $1,000 for violations of section 108.4.1 and 108.5 of the International Property Maintenance Code, as amended by Chapter 172 of the Township Municipal Code regarding placard removal and prohibited occupancy of unsafe structures and equipment. Brief description before we turn over to Mr. Mabel.
Sure. So recall at the June 14th non-legislative meeting, the board received a presentation on an updated approach to building occupancies, inspections, and condemnations from building official Scott Heckman and Fire Chief Jordan Kramer. The updated approach was developed in response to several recent incidents in the township. In order to implement this new approach, it is necessary to amend the zoning code and the property maintenance code to require a certificate of occupancy upon a change in tenancy or ownership of commercial structure, as well as the International Property Maintenance Code to prescribe penalties for any kind of removal of condemnation placards or occupying a structure after the condemnation order has been issued. At July 7th meeting, after a public hearing, the Planning Commission unanimously recommended the board approve the text amendment. And we have building official Heckman and Fire Chief Kramer in attendance. If you should have any questions.
Okay, Mr. Maple.
At this point in time, anyone who's going to testify, assuming Mr. Heckman will be testifying. Anyone else have any questions or comments? Please stand. No one has any questions. Mr. Heckman, please stand, please. Raise your right hand.
State your full name.
Scott Heckman.
Jordan Kramer.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Folks, we go up to the podium. In case the board has any questions. At this point in time, while they're going to the podium, is there a motion to place it out? It's the following exhibits. Exhibit A would be the synopsis provided by Mr. Stanek. Exhibit B would be the proposed ordinance with the changes. Exhibit C would be a draft meeting minutes from June 28, 2022.
Move to enter into the record the exhibits A through C.
Thanks, Mr. Bernier. Second, please.
Second.
Thanks, Mr. Murphy. All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Mr. Heckman, since you're the up at the podium, could you tell us why this needs to be amended?
There is a lot of commercial tenants that change hands frequently. We have a lot of vacancies, a lot of switching ownership, and we have no idea that it's happening. So
you're recommending that based upon that concept, we need to amend it?
correct, and that will give us a way to get in, re-inspect the building, make sure that it's safe for the public to re-enter to however they change it to be.
Anything else you would add? Mr. Kramer?
Yeah, this just gives us the ability for a building, for example, that might be 40 or 50 years old through its life as it changes occupants. For each occupant that comes in, it requires us to issue a new certificate of occupancy. That's very common practice, but it gives us the opportunity to get into the building and to ensure that it's safe prior to their opening and prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy.
So in summary, what you're saying is that it's in the best interest of the township to be concerned about the health, safety, and welfare of those individuals utilizing those buildings.
Correct.
And that's your recommendation. Correct. Mr. Burns, you have any questions, comments?
No.
Mr. Static?
I would add one thing. Our team here created I guess a three-part type of occupancy. So we've married some things with zoning, we've married some things with building, and married some things with life safety codes. So businesses will now have their official occupancy signed off by the zoning to make sure that it can be there. Building to make sure that what they built was complying with the codes. And again, the life safety issues from the fire chief are, so that should hang on every business. When you walk in, look for it. It's a pretty neat form. So thank you.
Mr. Gregg, you have any questions or comments? Mr. Weber?
Yes, I just want to take these two gentlemen and thank them for getting ahead. Thinking ahead and have some vision and taking care of this type of thing. So we don't have to run into these type of problems, okay? So the transfer of ownership or transfer of building or something like that, it's covered.
Correct.
From now on, okay? In the past, it wasn't covered.
Right.
So thank you for taking care of that.
Mr. Lukatich?
No.
Mr. Murphy? None. One last chance. Anyone in the audience have any questions or comments concerning the presentation made by these two gentlemen? Being none, is there a motion to close the hearing?
Mr. Murphy, thank you. Thank you for your second, Mr. Burns. All those in favor of closing the hearing, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0 to close. Need a motion to approve. Thank you, Mr. Burns. Second, Mr. Murphy. All those in favor of the motion to approve, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Letter D, motion approving operation and maintenance agreements with the property owners of 2005, 2007, 2009 Moccasin Drive, permitting a private connection to the township's stormwater management system. Do you have a brief description on that, Mr. Stanek?
Sure. For the board's consideration this evening, the three agreements with those three property owners on Moccasin Drive. This authorizes a connection to the township stormwater system. Earlier this month, Public Works Director Grego and myself met on site at 2005 Moccasin Drive to review plans and thought processes with the property owner to create a French drain system that serves all three of these units in Strabane manner. In all the properties that would connect to this, the French drain system would serve all these three properties that then would connect to the under drains that lay under the curb line. The solution will seek to collect that water in the rear yards, which is become a challenge, to say the least.
On that, on.
So, and that would just help transfer the flow of water to the stormwater management system and take it out and down.
Thank you.
No, I can add one more thing, Bob, please.
Yes.
Now, Brandon sent you and Wes, saw that a few weeks ago. Come look at it now. No, I can't walk off that deck. When my dog is off that deck, he can't turn right. It's taken about 20 to 25 yards of our property because it's come around the corner now. The only way it can go is into that little drainage thing that's made between the two townhouses. We have a swamp there, literally forever till we get this put in. I mean, the thing I'm really afraid of now, it's gonna take, it's told into our deck and foundation, but it's only 2-3 feet away from our air conditioner, which we just got put in last July. So we're in big trouble there.
All right, we have a motion to approve.
I made a motion to
Thank you,
approve.
Mr. Burns. Who seconded? Seconded. All those in favor of this motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Okay. Letter E, motion amending resolution 1522 granting final plan residential development approval to Meadows Landing Associates LP for the Meadows Landing Plan Residential Development. Brief description, please, Mr. Stanek.
Presented for the board's consideration tonight is a motion amending the resolution 15-22 last month that granted final priority approval for Meadows Landing. So pursuant to that resolution, the development must post a performance guarantee, execute the development agreement, and meet the outstanding conditions of approval, which right now is the DEP National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System permit, which remains, and that all needs to be done within 90 days of approvals are revoked. Conversations with Meadows Landing Associates, the 90-day timeframe will most likely not be met, given the NPDES permit review by the DEP is out of the developer's hands, as well as posting a performance guarantee with the township due to what we're experiencing with the economy is delaying any type of construction because of the increasing construction costs. So it's to provide the developer a time during this economic downturn to a little more flexibility with starting the project. It's recommended that the extension be for 1 year.
In other words, you're saying that their project will be delayed until this is taken care of.
Well, yes, it'll be delayed until they start to execute on their construction materials and pricing. They're just not ready to go.
Okay.
If the 90 days passes, then Meadows Landing has to go through that process once again. So this is just providing some flexibility during this time.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. Need a second, please.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Lukatich. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Letter F, resolution amending the comprehensive fee schedule, establishing a fee for solar panels. Mr. Stanek, a briefing, please.
So currently, the building department issues building permits for any residential solar panel installation on roofs based on the square footage of the panel clusters that are being installed. The building permit for residential construction is 75 cents per square foot, which is used to calculate the fees for solar panels. The average cost for a building permit for solar panels over the past 4 permits issued is approximately $300 to $500. According to a publication that we referenced about solar panels and municipal zoning and whatnot, they're recommending a permit fee of $250 or less, depending on what type of system. And so when we take a look at that and then take a look at what we actually do, boots on the ground, and how this works, is we would recommend to, because in essence, having solar panels is a great green incentive, and to decrease that, the permit price would be an incentive for property owners and residents to better engage, better take care of the environment. We reviewed our own time that it takes to review the plans and inspect installations of roof-mounted residential panels, which is what we're seeing most right now. And that's approximately 2 hours, no matter how large the panel clusters may be, so additional time is not typically needed to do that. Because of this, staff recommends the board consider establishing a flat fee of $75 for the roof-mounted residential solar panels. The flat fee seeks to incent homeowners and utilize solar energy. And also, we have other types of solar energy that's used. And we're recommending that any kind of residential ground-mounted system, any commercial rooftop-mounted system, or any kind of commercial ground-mounted system remain at the rate of 75 cents per square foot for residential, and then the commercial $1 square foot. And that's because those systems tend to be a little more intricate, complex, that does take a lot more time to review.
Move to approve.
Okay, second, please. Thank you, Mr. Grego.
I have a question.
Okay, good.
Do we do anything for Scott for wind power? Do we have anybody that's using that in the township? Do we have anything? I mean, do we have anything on the books for wind power? Well, I think we should do something with that also. If we're gonna, I mean, this is for clean energy. That would be another thing that, somebody might want to put in. A windmill in the township.
Hey, Scott, thank you. Scott, we miss anything here? I mean, everything's on intact here and so forth, okay? And please note that we'll take a look at the windmill situation later, later on, okay?
What's it says $75 flat / permit, is there a permit fee too?
That would be the permit fee. It's
So
just be a
it's
flat
flat
$75 per bill.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Letter G, motion approving a memorandum of understanding between South Strabane Township and the United Steel, Paper, and Forestry, Rubber, Manufacturing, Energy, Allied Industrial and Service Workers International Union, local units 272, M, concerning vacation leave. Mr. Stanek.
What this is just a clarification of the contract that was approved earlier this year in March. The new vacation structure will begin January 1st.
Okay.
And the union has
Signed off on it, and it's clarified, it's all clarification, every detail, okay? Need a motion, please.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Lucas.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Any further discussion on it? All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 5-0. Letter H, motion authorize the township to enter into a lease agreement for a fire command vehicle. You want, Mr. Jordan, you want to come up and explain it to us?
Sure.
Okay.
So during a non-legislative meeting, this has started discussion to replace 2 squad vehicles, one of them being a 2015 Tahoe with approximately 90,000 miles. We received direction to move forward with doing so. Since then, it's been difficult, obviously, with the vehicle situation. We've found a couple units and we've not been able to lock them down. 2023 pricing is looking like it's going to be a significant increase. So a new development today, we actually found a dealership that has 2022 Explorers coming in that we would be able to lock down on this year's pricing if this is approved. So it'll probably save us about 12 grand as opposed to what the vehicle would cost next year.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Byrne. Need a second, please.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Lukatich. All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 5-0. Letter I, motion approving contracts for the purchase of gasoline and diesel fuel. What's the status of that, Mr. Stanek?
nothing at this time.
Okay, let's move on.
Everything status quo.
Okay. Letter J, resolution for the disposition of specific public records. What you want?
More records?
Old. Okay. Motion to approve, please.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Lukatich. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 5-0. Number 10, adjournment. Need a motion to adjourn.
I thought just before we adjourn, I
Yes?
thought we were taking the unfinished, the cul-de-sac off of the table to at least talk about it to give staff.
No, it's a-
So there were just a dead item. We're done.
It's a dead item. It's the time to limit expired. Thanks, those for asking. Need a motion to adjourn, please.
Motion to adjourn.
Thanks. Second, Mr. Grego, thank you. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, 5-0. Meeting is over. Thank you very much, everyone.